Welcome to University Drive, your pathway to the transformational work of University of the Bahamas. Our goal is to build a better Bahamas by shaping tomorrow's leaders today, finding solutions to challenges, and forging new opportunities for growth. University Drive, where faculty, staff, students, and alumni travel the road of progress together with you. Hello, everyone, and welcome to University Drive. I'm your host, Tamika Lundy. Today, we're talking about being a global citizen, preparing to operate in a world without borders, and how university students and others can evolve to take advantage of all that is available to be nationally and globally competitive. We have as our guest, Mr. Valdez K. Russell. You might be familiar with the name. He is the principal of VKR Insights, a communications and reputation management agency. Valdez, thank you so much for joining us here on University Drive. We're happy to have you.
Thank you very much, Tamika, for a kind introduction and a compelling topic to talk about on your show.
Yes, well, we knew once we wanted to address this particular topic, we knew that there were a few people who came to mind and one who really stood out, and it was you. And you have a past connection with the university. Your current role allows you to lead in terms of facilitating public relations and communication strategies, but you've always also served as the assistant manager and academic dean at BTVI, and you served in the capacity in the role of international relations officer at the former College of the Bahamas. And I also know that you have a hand in helping students to reach their leadership potential around the globe. And so you have the kind of perspective that we thought could really inform our audiences with this particular subject in mind.
That, again, I keep using the word kind, but I will do my part to shed some light, provide some insights, VKR insights, really and truly, and engage in a conversation with you that intends to uplift and inspire as we look at the university as the epicenter for igniting new ideas so that more individuals make decisions based on research, more individuals make decisions based on data, and we move forward in such a way that it helps us to create a better Bahamas where more of us are thriving.
See, that's what I told you. I knew that you would have been well placed to help us expand on this subject matter. Why don't you tell us some more about your background that's relevant for the purpose of our discussion here today? I know I picked out a few bits and pieces from your background, but I do know that you have past connections with University of the Bahamas and also BTVI and some others. But tell us a little bit about your background and the kinds of experiences and moments that have helped to shape where you are right now today.
Yes, at the heart of everything that we do, we should always come back to who we are. And at the heart of all that I do, all that I say, wherever I go and how I make decisions, I'm an educator at heart. And I think that it speaks volumes to my upbringing. My mother is an educator, my sister is an educator, my grandmother, while she was not formally educated as it relates to going to college and university to be an educator, she was both a disciplinarian and she affirmed that if you train a child in the way that they should go, when they get older, they will never depart from that. And so as I travel around the world, as I participate in board meetings aligned with global success and economic independence for college and university students, both locally and abroad, my commitment to educating individuals, educating, exciting, and informing them about their potential, about new opportunities, is at the heart, is at the core. And so I remember Janine Hodder, one of the catalyst for the University of the Bahamas. She talked about this idea around remember what it is that you want to be. Remember who you want to be and not what you want to do. And in remembering, I believe, who I want to be, it's to imprint and impact change. And we can do that in so many facets. I have a great fondness for education. I have a great fondness for Bahamian creatives and entrepreneurs. And that thread weaves the fabric of this incredible tapestry of making a difference by helping businesses and organizations to tell their story through public relations. But at the core, you're in a conversation with an educator at heart.
Okay, well, thank you so much for that. You have set a really firm context and foundation for our discussion. I like your references to knowing who you are at the core and coming to terms with that and staying true to who you are at the core and leveraging that as any individual embarks on a path of impacting change. And we're talking about positive change that ourselves as individuals, our country, and the world could use a whole heck of a lot of, particularly now, right? So, for the University of the Bahamas, a part of its mission is building character in our students. Which aligns with exactly what we're talking about today. Do you think that a lot of people actively think about their own character development and how that ties specifically to whatever career pursuits that they embark upon?
I often participate in bioethics, a class taught at the university, and the faculty member is Dr. Kayla Stubbs. And in her bioethics class, I ask students, and I've asked them for a number of years now in my role as a guest lecturer in Dr. Stubbs' class, and I ask students, what are your core values? What are the values that guide your decisions and help you to be a better individual? And when we think of your question around what is character, I'm often surprised to learn at how few students think about their core values. Our core values guide us, our core values propel us, and our core values compel us to think differently around how we show up. If more of us focused on our core values, our commitments to success, to family, to prosperity, to respect, and those other tenets that drive the importance of relationships and nation building, we would see a wildfire of change. We would see a tsunami of a difference because people would know who they are. And so, as we explore this whole language around building character, understanding ourselves so that we can engage with others, I think if we were to know who we are and how we show up and what is at the core of our foundation, we would certainly have a better country. And so, in short, maybe we need to go back to Girl Guides, Boy Scouts, and those foundational organizations that transformed the nation back then, but are just existing now in a way that says participate. But those kinds of organizations provide the foundation, provide the core, provide the kind of stability that we sometimes lack to make good decisions, not based on pride and arrogance, but based on change, community building, and using the university as a network to inspire change and difference.
Wow, well, you're on fire now because the whole question of character and core values and who we are is particularly relevant now in the month of our independence anniversary, when we're
Yes.
celebrating our independence and from whence we came, but not only from whence we came, but how we have grown and matured, and what are we going to intentionally do to ensure that as we continue to grow and to develop, we are focusing on those things that will make us stronger and more resilient as a nation and individually. And the university certainly does have a role to play in that, but this is a good a time as any to kind of assess where we are in that trajectory and where we're headed and what is going to carry us forward. We're also in an era of evolution. There's a lot that's happening. There's a lot of crisis that's happening. There's a lot of change happening. And a favorite word that we hear a lot is pivot, right? But this is also, I believe, an opportune time for reimagining, right? Rekindling and looking at how boundaries are disappearing, especially when it comes
Yes.
to earning potential and connecting with audiences. What should a person pay attention to, especially a university graduate, in this modern day, in these modern times? What should they pay attention to as they learn and make preparations to go out into the world of work?
Pay attention to your relationships. Your network will define and establish your net worth. So pay attention to relationships. Pay attention to the kinds of relationships that sound out the importance of our national words in the anthem that say, pledge to excel through love and unity. Pay attention to the relationships that help you to thrive, not just for today, but for what is to come over the horizon. I have observed countless individuals who take advantage of the short term benefit and miss the importance of the long term relationship. At the end of the day, as a university graduate, it is the person that you sit by in your class who ignites a spark within you to think more, to do better, to dream bigger, that will make the difference. And the same is true to faculty members who are impacting the nation's youth and our graduates. Treat your students well today, and they will be the donors of tomorrow. When we fail to focus on relationships, when we fail to realize that you're talking to and impacting someone's son, someone's daughter, someone's niece or nephew or grandchild, we eliminate the capacity for future growth. And that is a part of what holds us back. So the reminder from COVID, the reminder from Dorian is at the end of the day, the things will fade, but it is the people who will remain and be there and dare to you.
In all that we do and all that we achieve and all that we plan for, it is the people who are important. That's the
Yes,
core message I'm getting from you, right?
yes, and it couldn't be any more clear that people who need people are the luckiest people in the world. And when your degree is placed before others, the question will always be, but who is Tamika Newbold Lundy? Who is her family? Where is she from? Because when asking that question, we're really wanting to know that you come from a stock of resilient people, a stock of people who didn't just pivot, but people who thrived through this time of uncertainty and measured their success in a way that they made a contribution, that they made a difference. All of the wealth that you might acquire means nothing if you didn't impact people.
So, have technology and the internet, you think, changed the game for us? Have those become or emerged as game changers as long as we are taking advantage of them?
Alexa, play me my favorite song, right? I can say that and something happens. I don't want to talk about Siri because my phones and devices might go off, but we are reminded of the fact that technology has propelled and compelled us to be more engaged with the lives of others. Yes, there are challenges with how people use technology, but at the core of it all, the difference is technology kept us closer together. When we couldn't travel, we could still open our laptops and go around the world through the eyes of some vlogger or blogger or food critic who was enjoying their best lives. Technology is a double-edged sword, but we have the best part of the sword when we use technology well. During COVID, we were still able to stay connected because we could pick up our devices and FaceTime or WhatsApp and connect with those we love. We were still able to travel the world thanks to persons who were blogging and vlogging and podcasting about their experiences and helping us to feel a sense of connection. COVID and other kinds of scenarios have made us to appreciate that the world is just a bit of a smaller place now because we can connect with one another. So yes, technology has impacted us positively. We've seen more young people looking at others who are coding and then realizing they can do this too. I can do this too. And that makes a world of a difference as we thrive in this new, better environment.
Wow, that is powerful. What would you say though are the lessons that this global scourge of COVID-19 has been teaching us? Particularly as it relates to how we define success, how we look at success, and how we reach a point of resilience.
So the first lesson is this. Anyone can be great. It's the person with courage who steps out and decides to try. I don't know if COVID revealed to you the number of persons in our country who thought that they could cook. Their pictures were pretty, the content on the pictures were curious, but it just evoked this culinary institute of the Bahamas that probably rivaled your CATS system at the institution. But at the core, COVID taught us anyone could be great. You just need to have the courage to try. You just need to focus in on what Nike said and just do it. That's the first thing. The second thing that COVID taught us is there is a place for everyone at the table. And if there is no place for you at a particular table, you have the capacity and the willpower to make your own table. And the evidence of that was clear and thriving in the app developers that came out, in the social media enthusiasts who came forward, in the comedians, in the musicians, in the medical professionals who helped us all through it in their professional way that made a lasting impact. And so as we continue to emerge through COVID, as the experience continues, there's so much more to be unleashed from the Bahamas. We had to rely on Bahamians. We had to rely on Bahamians to get it right, to do it well, because in so many ways, we were all that we had. And that was an amazing thing to watch. We were exposed to great minds from the university that we didn't know exist because we always looked outside of the country. And so looking within allowed the little girl from Mayagüana or the little boy from Andros to see that his heroes could be right here at home and he too could be just like them. So it was eye-opening, it was refreshing, and I hope that the individuals who've emerged and who are shining as a result of COVID continue to do so because there's something extraordinary about showcasing and featuring Bahamian excellence.
So it's the mirror that we have to pay attention to, right? The mirror of ourselves and the heroes that are emerging. But also, you know, it's one side of the coin to celebrate and uplift and showcase those among us whose talents are really causing people around the world to take notice. But it's another thing also to support, actively support those individuals, right? And to look within and to recognize and see that we do have a breadth of talent that is astounding among Bahamians.
Yes. And as we look at that breadth of talent, the reminder for graduates, the reminder for students at the university is there's enough opportunity for all of us to thrive. We don't have to be gravelicious. We don't have to take the other person's idea or steal it. There is enough for everyone to use their talents, degrees, certificates, diplomas, and thrive in this nation. We can be more, we can do more when we understand that you are your greatest competition and not the other person who might have had started a year ago or 20 years ago. There's enough for you to thrive, me to thrive, and all of us to do so in such a manner that we celebrate excellence consistently.
Speaking of thriving and connecting with pace setters and change makers, right? In the career that you're in now and over the years, you've really connected with some of the nation's most successful people, and you've been able to talk to them about the kinds of things that they hold dear and that they value, and that causes them to be inspired and encouraged and engaged and connected. What are the nuggets of wisdom that those kinds of national and global trendsetters have been sharing with you about the way that they gravitate towards success, despite whatever circumstances might be around them?
It's I've been afforded some great conversations with extraordinary individuals, one of which I'm in right now. So thank you for giving me this showcase. And I thank everyone who has taken a risk to sit down and have a conversation with me. One of the fondest memories of talking with and interacting with Bahamians who have given me a space in their lives of which I'm humbled by. One of the glowing reflections that I get all the time is we're ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And the work continues, regardless of regardless of your creed, your status, your presence, or anything of that effect. Everyone wants to make a difference in some way or another, whether it be in the financial services, whether it be in the creative industry, the orange or blue economy terms that are coming up more now. People want to make a difference and people want to share nuggets about how they influence change. And the poise, the kindness, and the grace that people espouse when we have conversations are the moments that I cherish the best because it says, I'm human, I've been on this journey, and I want to just encourage, inspire, and implore others to take that step to do good and to make a difference. So it's been extraordinary. It's been amazing talking with a series of individuals from throughout the Bahamas because their stories matter. And at VKR Insights, one of the things that I say that I do, is we help people to tell their stories. And so along the journey, we've had some great people tell their stories about success, about their challenges, and they've also encouraged others to start their journey, to make their journey better, and to keep moving forward. So it's been incredible.
The journey has been incredible and it's not over yet, right?
I think that there are a few more stories that we want to have told, and I'm so grateful that others are joining on the ride to tell their story, and others are opening themselves up to share more about who they are and why what they do makes a difference.
Okay, well, this is actually a good point at which to take a break. This is University Drive. We're talking with Valdez K. Russell. Please continue to stay tuned, stay connected. We'll take a break, a brief one, and be back after this.
To protect yourself and others from COVID 19, stay home as much as possible and avoid close contact with others. Wear a mask that covers your nose and mouth when you leave home. Wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds or use alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Practice social distancing. If you must leave home, stay at least 6 feet away from other people and disinfect items you must touch. Limit in-person contact as much as possible. To prevent the spread of COVID-19 if you're sick, avoid public transportation, ride-sharing, or taxis. Stay home if you're sick, except to get medical care. Remember to call ahead first. Separate yourself from other people and pets in your home. Everyone is at risk of getting COVID-19. Older adults and people of any age who have serious underlying medical conditions may be at higher risk for more severe illness. This message is brought to you by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and University of the Bahamas.
Welcome back, everyone, to University Drive. I'm your host, Tamika Lundy, and our guest is Valdez Russell, who's the principal of BKR Insights, a communications and reputation management agency. Valdez, we are talking about being a global citizen and taking advantage of all that's available to be nationally and globally competitive. One of the roles that you held at the former College of the Bahamas, now University of the Bahamas, is that of International Relations Liaison. And I want to talk to you about the value of exposing university students to global experiences and opportunities and how that impacts their development, and how they perform, how they show up in the world. What can you tell us about that?
I can tell all of us that we need globally minded citizens. We need global thinkers. And one of the things that I most enjoyed while I was at the College of the Bahamas then was the excitement of sending students around the world to study abroad. Some of the stories are memorable and vast and vivid, with moments of seeing the snow and the mountains and interacting with different cultures. But what stands out is that we created this small community of individuals who are thriving, individuals whose study abroad and global experiences have afforded them access to new rooms. And so programs like then, the President's Scholar, individuals and donors like Santander Bank that allowed students the opportunity to study abroad in the languages, and the Lyford Key Foundation's commitment to helping students study abroad, and so many others were the foundation for so many students being successful and coming home and making a difference. I was in a conversation the other day with Dr. Amina Sarr, and I was paused and reminded that she was one of the first students that I sent around the world, and now she is a faculty member, if I'm not mistaken, at the institution. So when we invest in helping our students to be globally competitive now, the returns are extraordinary because they come home, they make a difference, and it all elevates our nation and the institution. So we have to keep sending them. We have to keep pushing them. And we have to create a culture that says it's okay to go away and come back because home will always be here. And so our commitment to global awareness, global competitiveness must be strong by identifying the best and the brightest to understand what is out there and come back and help to frame for us what we too can be.
I would like to think that there's another aspect of international exposure and experiences that positively impacts an individual. And for me, I know I can speak from my own experience, that has been growing and developing your ability to empathize, to see things from another perspective, to put yourself in another person's shoes as a means of adding to our experiences, and building relationships and connections. Have you found that to be the case?
I think so. So this whole idea of feeling for someone, putting yourself in someone else's shoes is really what is involved with being empathetic. And then when we add our capacity, when we add these elements of emotional intelligence and how we show up and what we do, what we see is a better individual. What we benefit from are better initiatives, better programs, because he who feels it knows it and then goes into changing it for the better.
So you have been doing in the past, I know you were involved in a major way in um, communications and motivational presentations, leadership development and capacity building for colleges and universities, here and in Canada, in the Caribbean, in the United States, even in the United Arab Emirates. What are some of the core things that you tell students or that you would have been telling students about how they approach and view the world?
Yes. So it's not just with students that I have the good fortune of working with. I also work with professionals, organizations, and individuals who benefit from the same message. So the message is a simple message, Tamika. In order for us to change the world, we must know ourselves. We have a lot of people in leadership roles who fail to get love at home and come to work to find it. We have a lot of individuals who are bullies because of failed circumstances. And so my message remains consistent wherever I go. You must be a catalyst for change. Commit to what is right. Connect with others to get things done and drive the change that is positive and sustainable to make a difference. That message is easily relatable, and that message is also consistent with how the university should show up in this national landscape. We must make a commitment. We must be a catalyst, and we must establish connections that make a difference to influence positive and sustainable change. Whether I'm talking to a group here in the Bahamas, whether it's a group in Jamaica, Antigua, wherever it is, the core message is the same. The content might be different, but I'm driving the point home that the change starts with you. The commitment starts with you. The catalyst must be you. And it is not the you in a selfish sense. It is the you that understands who you are and how you show up to make a positive change. Some people show up and they are the fire that is negative. And instead of dousing the fire based on our own commitment to do better, we create these toxic environments of bullying, of threatening, and intimidating. And what we see is a failure to launch programs, a failure to identify the right talent, and a failure to understand how we can be better because the wrong people are in leadership roles undeserving of their talents and presence.
So we have to be willing to have the tough conversations and come to terms with them, with some ugly, right? Some things that may not be good for us that we have to change, right? Because growth has to involve also identifying those areas that you have to change that may not be so good. I want to talk about failure, Valdez. I want to talk about failure and how it's not entirely a bad thing and how it could actually lead to us becoming and developing into our best selves and how it could actually lead us to success. Have you ever had those kinds of conversations with the students and the professionals that you've been connecting with?
Yes, yes. I have those conversations all the time with myself, really.
I know, me too, right? Plenty.
With myself all the time. And it is that debate of what do I share publicly so as to not scar this image that others might have of you. But here's the thing about failure. Failure is not final, and rejection is the new redirection. Failure is not final, and rejection is the new redirection. And if you would permit me to elaborate just for a moment, we live in a society that is rolling forward based on filtered images of families in matchy-matchy outfits. We live in a society where the success is the car you drive, the watch you wear, the outfits you have, and who you are associated with in social settings. But really and truly, the people who are impacting the best change are those who sit down and have thoughtful conversations about authenticity, about transparency, and about kindness. We never see those highlighted so much, but we see the other glitz and glamour that we are encouraged to aspire towards. So as we think about failure, whether it's a C on an exam or a D or a national E, depending on who's reading the BGCSE results, when we look at failure in different kinds of ways, we have to understand that regardless of what grade you get, what will be remembered in your final moments is how you treated others. No one will ever look at you and say, oh my God, you got a D on your BGCSE. But what they will look at you and say, oh my goodness, you are kind, you are caring, you are respectful. And as a result of that, I want to afford you a new opportunity. I want to expose you to a whole new world. Failure is not final, and rejection remains the new redirection.
And all of this feeds into the fact that we should be having these intentional conversations and mentorships and leadership development opportunities for those who are going to assume the reins of our governance, of our economy, and the like moving forward, right? Because we want individuals with strong emotional intelligence, with integrity, right? Who are able to lead us properly and who are able to contribute to our growth path in a way that will keep us resilient.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And when we inspire that kind of environment, we surround ourselves with people who will say to individuals who are bullies, intimidators, and toxically negative individuals that this behavior is not acceptable. We live in a time whereby the motivated are deflated because the bully is the one thriving and encouraged and elevated. But if we had more people who were committed to talking about wrong being wrong and helping us to live better and do better and treat people better, we would be so much further ahead. We would be so much further ahead.
You've been impacting university students for quite a number of years in former and even current roles, right? Do you think that we're seeing our students embrace and create the opportunities that can bring about transformation?
I think that what we're seeing is a good start as we emerge from COVID, because people had to pause, individuals had to pause and ask the question, who am I? Who am I without the glitz and glamour of being able to go out and do it for the gram or TikTok this or tap that? And when they asked themselves the question, when the lights were off and you were at home and couldn't get anybody to come by your house to visit or couldn't go out, what value did you bring to the table? And so, our commitment, our challenge is to keep people asking better questions, the questions that elevate them to recognize the value that they have when no one is watching, the good that they do for those who can't do in return for them. And so I think that we're on a good trajectory to get more people to think differently about how they show up. And as we started out earlier, thinking about who they want to be and not necessarily what it is that they want to do.
So tell us, how have you been changed and impacted by this whole COVID-19 experience, and also just by the challenges that came even before that, because of Hurricane Dorian? How have those things impacted you?
Yeah. So I think that there was a period in which I was down, actually, down from this wonderment of how can I do more? How can I be more to inspire other people? And so there was this lull of creativity. And I don't know if you can relate to that, but there was this lull of not producing, not because I was being competitive with others, but because I wanted it to be authentic. I wanted it to be real. I wanted it to be true. And once I navigated through this whole idea that I could do more, I was reminded by a dear friend who said to me, your gifts will make room for you. Your gifts will make room for you. And when I think about that, and when I think about how I show up, COVID has inspired me to keep gifting, to keep giving of my time and my talents to causes and initiatives that make a positive difference. And so I spend a lot of time talking with individuals about how they can make their business better, how they can use their talents and abilities to contribute to a better world, and how they can contribute in such a way that is not bold or brassy, but meaningful and memorable so that others can learn, grow, and do the same thing. So it's been a wild ride. It's been an exciting ride. And I think this commitment to doing, to giving, to being is what I walk away from COVID, knowing that I am still charged to do, to help others, to be there, to educate, to engage, and excite.
You've been working a lot, Valdez, with entrepreneurs in Grand Bahama. And we all know that they've had a very challenging time over the last however long, because of the natural disasters that have obtained and have impacted Grand Bahama, and the challenges that have been facing their economy, their island economy, and the national economy. and the impact of the global economic situation on them. Suffice it to say that they've had to endure some challenges and find ways to be resilient and to rebound. And you've been working with them to help them to take advantage of opportunities. How has that experience been, and what have you been seeing as it regards the entrepreneurs in Grand Bahama?
Yes. So throughout COVID, I had the opportunity, believe it or not, to work with around 325 small to medium sized business owners, straw vendors, individuals who had small businesses as entrepreneurs, creatives, and otherwise. And so I got to work with these individuals through an initiative with Mercy Corps, an international organization, in partnership with the Grand Bahama Port Authority, Bacardi, and the American Red Cross. And so we would provide this interactive training around topics that business owners should be familiar with: financing, business best practices, marketing, and public relations. And here was the biggest takeaway for participants each time that I interacted with them. You made me to feel that I could do this better. And people said that when they said that initially, I was just like, no, you've got to be kidding. But the message was clear, the message was consistent. This whole idea of giving people practical tips and strategies to do business better, to elevate themselves, to know how they show up, so that when people come and do business with you, they feel good, you feel good, and it makes a difference. Each time that I visit a business now in Grand Bahama that I've worked with or been impacting, it's a warm feeling to know that someone who perhaps thought this was the end is now inspired and encouraged to keep going. The economy is not going to recover overnight, but at the core of what we provided, we helped participants to think long term, that economic sustainability, that commitment to thriving versus surviving. And it is my hope that as Grand Bahama and other entrepreneurs in the Northern Bahamas commit to best practices for business development and business success, we're going to see some long-term sustainable growth for individuals who are doing it better and getting it right as entrepreneurs and creatives. So it's been humbling, it's been rewarding. I continue to enjoy the interactions with many of these business owners through our Facebook community, through WhatsApp notes that we exchange, through greeting one another with fist bumps or elbow touches in this period, because there's hope. And once there's hope, we will always have a better tomorrow.
Well, I think we've had a very insightful conversation. Valdez K. Russell, thank you so much for dropping by and spending some time with us talking about being a nationally and internationally competitive citizen. Thank you so much for joining us. You want to offer any wrap-up comments as we
Yes.
close off?
Yes. So, Tamika, thank you for this very kind invitation. I think that the questions you've asked, the work that you do, and the individuals who are contributing to a better Bahamas are inspired by you. So, thank you for this engagement. So, here's the big takeaway I think that more of us should explore or consider. The university should be a hub for excellence. The university should create a culture where relationships are respected, admired, and appreciated. And along the way, the university should remember the students that you impact and inspire today are the donors and leaders of tomorrow who will keep the cycle going. That's what a good drive does. A good drive keeps going and makes you want to be more and do more. And so let's look at the faculty like Kayla Stubbs, Veronica Toppin, Joyanne Thompson. Let's look at the staff members who are impacting and influencing change and ask questions. What are they doing right in the classroom that we can continue to ignite from an administrative perspective so that we make a big difference? William Fielding, Virginia Balance, and Dr. Owen Bring, and all of those individuals who work tirelessly on the Journal of Bahamian Studies. Those are the kinds of initiatives that give the university credence and reputation further around the world. And we cannot lose that. And so let's remember to be kind. Let's remember to care. And let's remember to be respectful. Because at the end of the day, it's relationships that move people to lead and learn in environments where honesty, truth, and integrity consistently shine. Thank you so much.
Well, that was an excellent message and note to end on. Thank you for spending time with us. And thank you to our listening audience for connecting with us on this episode of University Drive. Remember, join us again, same time, same place for University Drive for our next episode. And also to stay connected and abreast of University of the Bahamas affairs and news, make sure to visit our website, www.ub.edu.bs. I've been your host, Tamika Lundy, and thank you for listening and connecting on University Drive.
University Drive is a production of the Office of University Relations and the Communications and Creative Arts Academic Unit at University of the Bahamas. All rights reserved.